Dear children, so in the previous class we have discussed a very important concept under electricity, that is Ohm's law we have discussed. So what we have discussed under the Ohm's law, that is potential difference across the circuit is directly proportional to current applied on it. That is V is directly proportional to I, that is equals to V is equals to I into R. We have derived this, isn't it? By this we have got a term called resistance. You have known that what is resistance is nothing but resistance is the opposition offered by the conductor. So resistance is nothing but opposition offered by the conductor is called as the resistance here. So resistance unit, you know, it is denoted by ohm. It is denoted as the SI unit of resistance is ohm here. So now based on this we have got the resistance, and also we have known a very important concept that resistance is very high at the insulator. So that is why insulator is called as bad conductor of electricity. Resistance is very low in the case of good conductor. That is why it allows the electricity to pass through it. So because of that concept we have discussed the Ohm's law. Now we have known the concept called resistance. Now on what factor does the resistance of a conductor depends? There are four factors in which resistance of a conductor depends. So I'll go with the one by one. First, it depends upon the length of the conductor. So how it depends upon the length of the conductor means, for example, I'll consider a conductor here. So this is how initially the conductor will be there. So in that conductor, if I am going to increase the length, this is the area of cross section, I am only increasing its length. So if I am going to increase the length, you can observe this. So even though if I increase the length, this is the length I have increased. Okay. So even though if I increase the length, what is happening with the resistance? So when length of the conductor is increased, resistance will also increase, because so you know, for the free electron, the electrons will be moving in this direction. For the electrons to move, there is some resistance will be offered by the conductor. When the length has been increased, that means for the movement of these electrons there will be a problem, because they can't move easily. Even though the length is increased, this width is same itself. So that is why when I increase the length of the conductor, resistance will also increase. So that means what is the relation? Resistance is directly proportional to length of the conductor. That says, if I am going to increase the length of the conductor, resistance will also increase. If I am going to decrease the length of the conductor, resistance will also decrease. That means both are directly proportional to each other. So now let me write that here. Resistance is directly proportional to length of the conductor. This is the first thing. How, on what factor? First one, it depends on length of the conductor. Secondly, it depends upon area of cross section. I'll say how it is. So let us take initially this will be how the conductor will be there. I'm going to increase the area of cross section. That means I'm going to increase this one. If I increase the area of cross section, you can observe that. So that if I am going to increase area of cross section, resistance will decrease. How the resistance decreases? Because for the movement of free electrons inside the conductor, if I am going to increase the area means same number of free electrons, same number of opposition will be offered by the conductor. So if I am going to increase area means for the escape of these free electrons there may be a wide area, so that they can escape easily from the opposition and they can move from this position to this position. Okay, so that is why if I increase the area, resistance offered by the conductor will be decreased. That is why these two are inversely proportional. I'll say it as resistance is inversely proportional to area of cross section. That shows if I am going to increase the area of cross section, resistance will be decreased. If I am going to decrease the area of cross section, resistance will be increased. So both are inversely proportional. So resistance is directly proportional to length, and also resistance is inversely proportional to area of cross section. Okay, two relation we have got, that is two factor on which resistance depends. So next is third factor on which resistance of a conductor depends is temperature. It depends upon temperature. How? Because let us take a conductor here. Temperature means I am going to heat this. If I consider any of the conductor means, if the temperature of a conductor is increased, I have said in an Ohm's law that V will be directly proportional to I till the temperature is same or the remains constant. That means if any conductor the temperature is increased means there is a variation in its resistance. If I am going to increase the temperature, resistance will also increase. If temperature is decreased, resistance will also decrease. So that is why there we have to mention that in the Ohm's law, that where in the provided there is temperature remains the same, then only we can able to say that factor's resistance is also depending upon the temperature of the material. Last and the fourth one is it depends upon nature of material. This is very important. Why it is important means, even though if you consider a good conductor, even though you know that copper, metals, all metals are good conductor of electricity. So even though if you differentiate between copper and aluminium, if I have considered, so you can observe that free electrons which are present in copper and free electrons which are present in aluminium may differ. We don't know exactly how much free electrons are present. You know, for the resistance, very important is free electrons. How many electrons are present in that? If there are more number of free electrons, resistance will be less. If there are less free electrons, resistance will be more here. So if in the case of copper and aluminium, even though they are metals, we don't know exactly how much the copper has free electrons and the aluminium has. Maybe if we take example, copper may have 20 free electrons, aluminium may have 15 free electrons. So it depends on nature. Even though it is a metal, it depends upon on what nature of material it is made up of, whether it is a copper or whether it is a aluminium material. So that means the resistance depends on the four factors. One is it depends upon length of the conductor. Secondly, it depends upon the area of cross section. Third, it depends on temperature. Fourth, it depends on nature of material. And also you have to know how it is related. It relates length increase, resistance also increase. Area of cross section increase, length decrease. Temperature is increase, resistance also increase. And nature of material, it depends on how many number of electrons. If more free electrons, resistance will be less. If less free electrons, then you will getting the more resistance. Okay.
Good morning children, I am your English teacher. See children, today we will be doing a new lesson, that is Glimpses of India. See children, glimpses means to look at India. So here in this lesson we have three parts children, that is a baker from Goa, Coorg, tea from Assam. And see, in the same lesson, three authors have been written this lesson children. So today we'll be doing about Goa children. I hope many of you would have visited Goa. Goa is famous for beach, church. So if you have visited Goa, you will be knowing the nature, how it is over there children. And in this chapter, we are going to discuss about the people and places and parts of India, how the people were living and what their names were and how popular the tourist destinations were children. And you know that apart from the British, the Dutch and the French, the Portuguese, they have also played a part in the history of our country's children. So here, you can also say that which part of India shows French, Portuguese and influences there. And which part of India grows tea, which part of India grows coffee. All this also we can make out from this lesson, Glimpses of India Children. And part 1, it is A Baker from Goa, written by Lucio Rodriguez. Lucio Rodriguez was one of a few outstanding Konkani essayist children. He is a Konkani speaking. His essay in English as well as those translated from Konkani were published as Of Soil and Soul and Konkani folk tales after his death in 1973. And Professor Lucio Rodriguez was exactly the type of teacher that students would recall with awe and affection for the profound impact he had on their lives, children. And see here, he had an expansive career as a professor of English literature. As a prolific essayist, he contributed to various newspapers and magazines such as the Nav Hind Times, the Times of India, Goa Today, and others too, children. Children, here the theme of this lesson here is the lesson reflects the strong Portuguese effect on the Goan culture, children. The Goan are the people who live in Goa are called as Goan, and their culture it has been reflected over here in this lesson, testifying the fact that the ideologies of the political powers which had a very strong influence on the lives of common people and also their lifestyles, children. And see here, for instance, bread as a steady food items is a tradition borrowed from the Portuguese in contrast to chapati or rice as an essential part of a balanced diet in India. Culture of a place is developed as an outcome of the traditions followed by the people, the conventions they adhere to, the religion they follow, their ethic and morals, and the philosophy of life that guides them. The author is nostalgic about his childhood days and has strong cultural ties with Goa. So, children, now we'll move on to the lesson, children. Glimpses of India, A Baker from Goa introduction. See, children, here A Baker from Goa revolves around the relevance of a baker in the Goan, which dates back to the time when Portuguese ruled over the city of Goa. The Portuguese may have left, but the bread makers continued to have an inevitable stature in this story, children. And the author recalls his childhood days and their excitement on seeing the baker. They were enthusiastic to the point that they would run to him as soon as they woke up without even brushing their teeth. When they see this baker, they used to run over there even without brushing their teeth. So, our elders are often heard reminiscing nostalgically about those good old Portuguese. See, children, here the meaning of nostalgic means thinking fondly of the past. They used to think about the past, children, and about those good old Portuguese days when they were small, how the Portuguese ruled they were thinking about. The Portuguese and their famous loaves of bread. Those eaters of loaves might have vanished, but the makers are still there. We still have amongst us the mixers, the molders, and those who bake the loaves. See, children, today also I know that everybody likes bread. And what here the author says is, though the people don't eat the bread also these days, but the bread makers are there in the country. And those aged, old, time-tested furnaces still exist. The fire in the furnaces has not yet been extinguished. See, he says that when they want to bake the bread, they will put fire. So he says here, the fire in the furnaces has not been extinguished. It is still burning, he says. The thud and jingling of the traditional baker's bamboo hurdling his arrival in the morning can still be heard in some places. He says that when the baker is coming, he keeps a bamboo hurdling, and his arrival in the morning can be still heard in some places. Maybe the father is not alive, but the son still carries on the family profession. See, forefathers, generations, they carry on this profession, children. These bakers are even today known as padar in Goa. During our childhood in Goa, the baker used to be our friend, companion, and guide. He used to come at least twice a day, once when he set out in the morning on his selling round, and then again when he returned after emptying his huge basket. See, when he is moving in the morning, he used to carry the bread in the basket and he used to sell it, and he used to return back after emptying his huge basket, the author says. The jingling thud of his bamboo woke us up from sleep, and we ran to meet and greet him. So they used to hear the sound, run and go and greet him, say him good morning. Why was it so? Was it for the love of the loaf? Not at all. The loaves were bought by some paskin or basket, the maid servant of the house. What we longed for were those bread bangles which we chose carefully. Sometimes it was sweet bread of special make. See, children, here companion means a person with whom one spends a lot of time. Jingling, that is the sound, light metallic ringing sound, children. And here the baker made his musical entry on the scene with the jang jang sound of a specially made bamboo staff. With that bamboo stick itself, he made this jingling sound, children. And one had supported the basket on his head, and the other banged the bamboo on the ground. He would make that sound to know the people that he has come. He would greet the lady of the house with good morning and then place his basket on the vertical bamboo. We kids would be pushed aside with a mild rebuke, and the loaves would be delivered to the servant. But we would not give up. We would climb a bench or the parapet and peep into the basket. Parapet is the compound wall, children. They used to stand because they want to peep what is there still in the basket. So they used to stand on the parapet wall, and somehow I can still recall the typical fragrance of those loaves. See, bread when it is hot, the fragrant smell comes. So the children say here that smell they could make out. Loaves for the elders and the bangles for the children. Then we did not even care to brush our teeth or wash our mouth properly. And why should we? They never used to brush the teeth. Because of that fragrant smell, they want to eat immediately. Who would take the trouble of plucking the mango leaf for the toothbrush? See, those days they never used to have toothbrush. They used to take the neem stick or mango sticks to brush the teeth. So they were telling that they should not take any trouble to take that mango stick, children. And why was it necessary at all? The tiger never brushed his teeth. See, they compare to the human beings to the animals, whether animals brush their teeth. Hot tea could wash and clean up everything so nicely after all. So I have done part 1, still part 2 it is there in this unit, children. I'll continue in the next class. Thank you all, children. Have a nice day. Please complete this few question and answers and a worksheet given to you all, children.